I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, why do I stay in spaces where I don't feel seen, valued, or truly loved? For so many of us, the answer traces back to one simple but powerful mistake. We're more attached to the idea of love than the experience of being truly loved. We fall in love with potential, not presence. We hold on, not because the relationship is right, but because the fantasy feels too beautiful to let go of. We tell ourselves, maybe they'll change, maybe they'll finally see me. But what if I told you? You're not stuck because they won't grow. You're stuck because you're ignoring who they are right now. And we do this all the time. We confuse attention with intention. They call, they text, they're around. But being present doesn't always mean they're purposeful. Consistency in contact isn't the same as commitment in heart. So what's the mistake? The mistake is staying hopeful in someone's potential while ignoring the truth of your own worth. And here's where it gets deeper. We ignore red flags in them because we haven't faced our own wounds. We tell ourselves, I can fix this, I can handle it, but healing someone else shouldn't come at the cost of breaking yourself. It's also easy to mistake chemistry for compatibility. That rush, those butterflies, that spark, they're exciting, but they can also be deceptive. What matters most is emotional safety, alignment of values, and shared vision. Love is not just how someone makes you feel, it's how they treat you when feelings fade or when life gets hard. Some of us fear being alone more than being unhappy, but here's the truth, solitude can be sacred. Settling is a sacrifice. You don't need to stay in a maybe when you were made for more. And if you keep going back to the person or the pattern that broke you, ask yourself this, am I trying to heal in the same place that hurt me? You deserve space to grow, not a cycle that keeps you small. So here's the takeaway. Stop choosing potential over peace. Stop confusing effort with alignment. Stop letting fear write your love story. You're not too much. You're not too needy. You're not too late. You're just remembering what it feels like to finally come home to yourself, because the love you're looking for, it's not out there in someone who doesn't choose you. It starts when you finally choose you. You're falling for potential, not reality. It's one of the most common and quietly damaging habits we develop in relationships and situationships. We meet someone, and instead of seeing them for who they are today, their actions, their values, their emotional maturity, we build a mental picture of who they could become. We fall in love with the future version of them, the one who finally communicates clearly, shows up consistently, loves us the way we deserve. And because that version is so vivid in our minds, we begin to justify the present version's inconsistencies. We say things like, they're just going through a phase, or they'll change once they're ready, but every time we excuse their behavior, we delay our own clarity. The truth is, potential is a promise that hasn't been kept. And when you fall in love with a promise, you risk sacrificing your peace for a possibility. We stay stuck because we're emotionally investing in someone's imagined growth, not their current truth. This habit turns love into a waiting game, and while you're waiting, you're shrinking. You deserve to be met, not managed. You deserve connection now, not just the hope of it someday in someone else's timeline. Confusing attention with intention is one of the quietest traps we fall into. Someone shows up in your messages every day, sends the good morning texts, the occasional compliment, the breadcrumb of affection, and we mistake it for genuine care. But attention is not the same as intention. Just because someone reaches out doesn't mean they're reaching forward. We start to associate frequency with depth, but they're not the same. A person can give you their time without giving you their truth. They can keep you emotionally tethered just enough to feel chosen, but never enough to feel secure. And often, we don't ask the hard question, what is their real intention with me? Because if we did, the answer might force us to walk away. We confuse presence with purpose, thinking that just because someone hasn't left, it means they're committed. But being around doesn't always mean they're building something with you. Sometimes attention is just comfort for them, not commitment to you. And we ignore that because attention soothes our loneliness, even if it doesn't serve our growth. We want to feel wanted, so we settle for being noticed, even if we're not truly being chosen. Avoiding the mirror, not the red flags, is what truly keeps us stuck. We often spot the signs, the inconsistent communication, the emotional unavailability, the hot and cold behavior, but instead of walking away, we rationalize. We convince ourselves that it's temporary, that they're just guarded, that if we just show more love, more patience, more understanding, they'll come around. But the deeper reason we ignore those red flags isn't always about them. It's because we don't want to face what those patterns are reflecting back to us. It's easier to focus on their behavior than to ask ourselves, why am I staying? Red flags aren't just warnings about others, they're invitations to look inward. They show us where we lack boundaries, where we crave validation, where we're afraid to be alone. Sometimes we don't want to leave, not because we believe they're right for us, but because we're afraid of what leaving says about us. So we pretend not to see, not because we're blind, but because we're not ready to confront our own fears, wounds, or habits. We stay, hoping they'll change, but deep down, we're avoiding the uncomfortable work of changing ourselves. The red flag isn't just theirs, it's the silence we keep with ourselves. Mistaking chemistry for compatibility is one of the most misleading emotional experiences in relationships. That instant spark, the butterflies, the excitement, it feels like destiny. You meet someone, and there's an undeniable pull, a fire that makes everything feel electric. And because that feeling is so rare and powerful, you assume it must mean something deep and lasting. But chemistry is often just attraction, a mix of novelty, physical connection, and emotional intensity. It doesn't always come from shared values, aligned life goals, or emotional maturity. It can come from chaos, from unmet needs, even from past wounds that feel familiar. Sometimes what we call chemistry is just the body recognizing a pattern, not something healthy, but something known. Compatibility, on the other hand, is quiet. It's how someone shows up when you're anxious. It's how they respond to your vulnerability. It's how you resolve conflict, how you plan, how you grow together. It doesn't always have that rush, but it has roots. And yet we chase chemistry over and over, thinking the intensity is proof of something real. We confuse adrenaline for alignment, fireworks for foundation, and wonder why it burns out as fast as it started. Fearing solitude more than settling is one of the most painful forms of self-abandonment. Deep down, many of us aren't choosing love, we're choosing not to be alone. We stay in relationships that leave us emotionally drained, mentally confused, or spiritually disconnected, because the silence of being alone feels louder than the noise of dysfunction. We mistake proximity for connection. We tell ourselves, at least someone is here, even when they don't truly see us. And every time we stay in something that doesn't nourish us, we're telling ourselves we don't believe we can find anything better. Loneliness can make us believe we're unworthy of deeper, truer love, but solitude isn't punishment, it's where clarity begins. It's where we find out who we are without the distraction of dysfunction. Yet the fear of being alone makes us tolerate less than we deserve. It convinces us to negotiate our needs, to shrink our voice, to ignore the emptiness that creeps in even when someone is lying next to us. We don't just fear solitude, we fear facing ourselves in it. And so we settle, not because we're content, but because we haven't made peace with the idea that we are already whole on our own. You keep trying to heal in the same place you got hurt, and that's why the pain never really leaves. You tell yourself if you stay long enough, love hard enough, or become better, things will change. You convince yourself that if they finally see your worth, the wounds they caused will somehow disappear. But the truth is, healing can't happen in the environment that broke you. The space that confused your value, ignored your needs, or manipulated your emotions isn't the same space that will nurture your growth. Yet we return, over and over, hoping for a different ending to the same story. It's not just them we want, it's the validation we never got, the apology, the recognition, the feeling of finally being chosen. And so we stay in cycles, not relationships. We confuse pain with passion. We call it growth when it's really survival. We think if we just hold on longer, we'll finally be enough for them to treat us right. But healing asks for distance, not endurance. It requires truth, not just time. And as long as you keep seeking restoration from the same hand that caused the damage, you're not healing, you're reopening the wound.